he was called. He was about 12 years old when he received the call. That's why he didn't understand it. He needed some direction. Eli had to tell him, it's God calling you. When he calls, here's what you say. Here I am, Lord. I've come to do your will. Or rather, speak, Lord, the servant is listening. When I answered the call, I was about the age of Samuel. I think I heard that call, actually, when I was 11. The day I received First Holy Communion. I think the call had always been there, I just didn't hear it. Or maybe didn't understand it. Just much like Samuel. He heard it, he thought it was Eli calling. He heard it a second, they thought it was Eli. Until Eli, the grown man, said, it's the Lord calling this guy. Here's what you said. So, I say I heard it long before that because my mom tells me that when I was maybe the age of 4 or even younger, certainly 4 and 5, she was having to break up many fights between me and my older brother. You know what we were fighting over? You know? Said we were fighting over who would be the priest. We were playing mass. And my older brother, who was 3 years older, always wanted to be the priest and wanted for me to be the altar server. And so I would say, no, I was altar server yesterday, you get to be the altar server today, I get to be the priest, you know. So, and then the fight will break out. And Mom would come to the rescue. Honestly, I don't remember this. But my mom told me that this happened. But I do remember, though, that at Mass, my family always sat in the front pew. And Mom would always say, listen to the priest. Because when we got home, my dad would quiz us on the readings and on the homily, what the priest said. So we always sat there listening attentively, and I would be focused in the sanctuary, looking at what the priest did, just admiring what went on. I didn't receive communion yet. You know, I received communion at the age of 11. That was kind of late, right? It's kind of late. What age were you when you received communion? Yes. 8. Some of you 7, right? I was 11. And the reason was, you know, my father's company where he worked, he was a mining engineer. And his company moved him many times to different parts of the country. And Nigeria is not like the United States where you have one language, okay? So each time we moved, it's a different language there. You know, in school, yes, they'll teach you in English, but you go out for recess and the kids aren't speaking English. They're speaking the native language. And in church, they're teaching them what we call Christian doctrine, or CCD, you know, religious ed. They're teaching them in the local language. There wasn't a Catholic school that we could go to, especially in the north. Northern Nigeria is mostly a Muslim homeland. What are you telling her? Look at me. Don't talk to anybody about anything, okay? Is my story boring to you? Oh, okay, good. So give me your full attention. So, because we were moving around, different languages, you know, each time we're beginning to get the local language, we're beginning to learn the local language, and it's time to move again. It gets transferred again. So, my father could not enroll us in religious ed until we were transferred back to the south, you know, where we come from. where the local language is Igbo. The school in the South is also taught in English, but then you go out for recess, and the kids are speaking Igbo. It's your native language my parents spoke at home. So we were fine. We became acclimated very well. So that's when we were enrolled to study CCD. That year I was 11, and they kind of they put me in the fast track. My older brother was already 14, I think. Okay. And we received communion. Now something happened that day that just confirmed what I was hearing. You know, my interest was definitely there. So I was being called. I just didn't realize that that was the call. I was being pulled to this thing. At Mass that day, I was the one selected to read the first reading. You know how we do it, First Communion, one person from the class or two from the class would read. I was one of the two. So I read the first reading. The first reading, surprisingly, was the reading I just read for you. The story of Samuel. That was the first reading. And then, after communion, came the announcements, as they would now do in most churches. They do the announcement, communion. And after communion, the priest announced that forms were out for those who wanted, you know, for young boys who wanted to become priests. That application forms were available, and that we could obtain them for like $10. You know, they said 10 naira. Obtain a form. You know, you fill out the form, complete the form, and send it in a seminary, and they'll call you for an entrance exam. You know, and that's how it started. So after Mass, I felt that, gosh, I really want to do this. But I didn't know if my father would agree. My father was a very strict man, you know. In fact, I don't think it's the best, but he made me turn out good, I think. Very disciplined. If we want anything we wanted at home, we went to Mom first. Tell Mom, and Mom would then go to Dad and tell Dad. The kids want money for this or for that. But we were, I don't know if I should say we were afraid of him, or it was just the reverence and awe. You know, we just couldn't tell him about things like that. You know, we could tell him about other things, but not asking for money. Mom was the one to do that. So I went to Mom and asked for the money, and Mom said, "This is not the time. I don't think your dad will give you any money." So I went to the priest and I said, "You know, Father, I'd like to get that form, but my parents don't have the money." So the priest said, "Really?" I said, "Sure." So he gave me the form, he helped me complete the form, we sent it in, he paid. I got called for the entrance exams. I took the exams, passed the exams, and then they said, "You'd have to come for an interview." I went to the interview. At this point, my father knew. I had to tell him, because I had to go and spend overnight. So we went to the interview. A bunch of us from the parish, about 7 kids from that parish alone, went for the interview. All like 12 years old, 11 years old. See, that's the age, that's the high school age in Nigeria. Because grade school lasts only 6 years. You know, after 6th grade, you're done with grade school. Then 7th grade becomes your high school age, basically middle school. But high school lasts for 6 years. So at the end, everything balances out. You graduate at the age you graduate here. So we passed this exam, this interview, and I entered the seminary. I can also tell you that at that age, I thought that once I got there, maybe another 2 or 3 years, I'd become a priest. That's what I had in mind. I didn't realize it was the beginning of like a 17-year journey. Because then I had to finish high school. And then I did college. See, but it's not like your regular high school schedule. You know what? I'm going to move you guys. Oh, you come on. You've been messing around. Next time it's going to be you. That's right. Very good. Get in the front row seat. All right. You know why I did this? Because I need his attention here, and I see the priesthood in him. He says no. I just want to make sure you listen. Okay. So, I went into the seminary. It was a boarding school. I was 12 years old at that time, the age of Samuel. The whole thing wasn't clear to me. I just knew there were other boys there. Everybody seemed like they wanted to become a priest the next day. There were a lot of prayers. It was a regimented schedule. We got up in the morning. I hope this doesn't scare you, because it's no longer that way in Nigeria today. But at the time I went to the seminary, they didn't have running water, they didn't have power at that time. Now they do. But because they didn't have running water, we'd wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning, grab our buckets, and run to the river. Run to the river. Every morning, the bell will go. And it's not like the buzzer here, electricity power. Somebody actually got up and rang the bell and ran all around the compound, so that people would wake up in their dormitories. There were several dormitories, sleeping halls, where they had all the bunk beds. So there were, in my class, there were 196 of us the first year. And we would run to the stream, the river, to get some water. We'll take our shower there, and then grab some water so they could cook for us. Some of the water would be transferred to the, like the washroom, so they could flush it, make it clean. Yeah, I think I have your attention now. Because some of you are wondering, is that even possible? Yes, it actually happened. Nowadays, the kids there just you go to the washroom and they flush it and the water comes. And it wasn't that way when I was there. They have power to study, but when I was there was a generator that was turned on at night so that there was power. And then at 10:30 the lights went out. Generator switched off, the lights went out. We're not allowed to use candles or anything to study. So we had to make use of the study time. You'd have to do what the schedule says to do. If it says morning prayer, normally after we go to the river, it's morning prayer. Then it's Mass. And then we had what we call morning functions, basically our chores for the day. The regulator, the guy who rings the bell, did not get any morning chore, because that ringing the bell was a chore. Because he rang the bell at every hour to tell us what else to do, what next to do. So, the morning chore might be to sweep a path or to mow the lawn. It was